When I transferred to Hollow Creek High, I didn't expect anything special. It's just another small boarding school in the middle of nowhere. Or, at least that's what I thought. On my very first night, I woke up to the sound of bells. Midnight bells. They were deep, metallic, echoing through the empty campus. I glanced at the clock on my desk. It was exactly 12 a.m. No one told me the school even had a bell tower. I looked out of the dorm window. In the distance, behind the main building, stood an old stone tower. The top of the tower was faintly glowing, like there was a lantern inside. And then, I swear to God, I saw someone standing up there. A dark figure. It slowly raised its hand and waved at me. I closed the curtain and told myself it was probably some senior messing around. But that night, I couldn't sleep again. The next morning, the first thing they gave me, besides the usual orientation packet, was a supplementary rule sheet. It looked old, yellowed paper, typed letters, and at the top, in red ink, it said, "Do not break these rules." Below were 5 simple rules. Rule number 1, do not leave the classroom during the break bell. Stay seated no matter what you hear. 2, if you hear the bell tower at midnight, cover your ears and close your eyes. Count to 10. Do not look outside. 3, never turn on or touch sink number 4 in the first floor bathroom. 4, never sit on the 5th seat in the last row of classroom 3B. That seat is taken. 5, before the 7th night you must leave the campus. Do not stay here longer than 7 nights. I laughed. This had to be some kind of prank the seniors played on new students. It reminded me of those creepy stories people tell at summer camps. But the thing is, everyone else was completely serious about it. Even my roommate Eli told me, "Dude, just follow the rules. You'll thank me later." That day at lunch, I sat with Eli and a guy named Mark. Mark was one of those loud, confident types who didn't believe in anything. He said, "Those rules? Total crap. I went out during the break last year and nothing happened." Eli looked pale. "Mark," he said, "don't joke about that." Mark laughed it off, but I noticed something weird. No one else at the table laughed. In fact, they were avoiding eye contact with him altogether. The first time something happened was that afternoon. Right after the 3rd period, the break bell rang. Students stayed in their seats like statues. Nobody moved, not even to stretch their legs. I thought it was ridiculous. So did Mark. "Watch this," he whispered. He walked to the door, opened it, and stepped outside. The hallway lights flickered. For a few seconds, everything went silent. Not just quiet, dead silent. Even the distant noises from other classrooms disappeared. Then came the footsteps. Heavy, slow, like someone was dragging something down the hallway. Eli's knuckles turned white on his desk. I heard him whisper, "He's dead." The lights came back on. The sound stopped. The door Mark had stepped through was closed again. When the period resumed, he wasn't in his seat. He never came back. The teachers didn't even make an announcement. It was like he'd never existed. His name was erased from the attendance list. That's when I started to realize those rules weren't a joke. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I went to the bathroom on the 1st floor, and for the first time I noticed sink number 4. The faucet was wrapped with yellow tape and a handwritten sign that said, "Out of order." Out of curiosity, or maybe stupidity, I bent closer. There was a low, gurgling sound coming from it. Not like water, more like breathing. I didn't touch it, but I swear something was inside that pipe. And when I looked at the mirror, for a split second, I saw the bell tower behind me, even though there was no window in that bathroom. The third night I broke the second rule, not on purpose. I just forgot. The midnight bell rang again. 12 deep chimes. I sat up in my bed staring at the ceiling. I didn't cover my ears. I didn't close my eyes. And then I looked out the window. The glowing light was back. The dark figure was standing there again. But this time it wasn't waving. It was pointing directly at me. I snapped the curtains shut, but something strange happened. I could still see the outline of the figure through the curtain fabric, like it was burned into my vision. I counted to 10, hoping it would fade. It didn't. When I opened my eyes again, someone was knocking on the window from the outside, on the third floor, where no one could stand. I couldn't move for a full minute. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the knocking stopped. But I didn't sleep after that. The next morning there was a new message on the blackboard in classroom 3B. No one had written it. It was written in white chalk, crooked and messy. Do not break the rules again. The class sat in silence. And then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The fifth seat in the last row, the seat that's supposed to stay empty, had a backpack on it. Someone, or something, was sitting there. I asked Eli, "Who sits there?" He whispered without turning his head, "No one. Not anymore." I couldn't help it. I turned around. The seat was still empty, but I could hear breathing behind me. Slow, steady, like someone leaning right over my shoulder. When I turned back to the front, my name was written on the blackboard, right next to the words, 7 days. That night I couldn't eat, couldn't think. Everything in this place was wrong. Eli finally told me the story. Decades ago, there was a student who sat in that seat every day. He disappeared one night after the bells. No body was ever found. Ever since then, the seat belonged to him. And every year, Eli whispered, someone new takes his place. On the fourth night, I made my biggest mistake. I decided to prove to myself that all of this was bullshit. I grabbed my flashlight and went out during the break bell. At first, nothing happened. The hallway was empty. The lights were dim. The air smelled damp. I almost laughed. And then behind me I heard footsteps. I turned around. Mark was standing there, but his head was tilted at a wrong angle. His skin was gray, almost translucent. He opened his mouth, too wide, and whispered my name. I ran. I ran like hell. The footsteps followed, echoing like they were inside my skull. I threw myself back into the classroom just as the bell ended. And there he was, the fifth seat, still empty, waiting. On the fifth night, a new message appeared on my desk. You can't leave now. I hadn't told anyone I was planning to transfer out, but somehow the rules knew. When the midnight bell rang again, I didn't even bother looking. But this time, the window opened on its own, and the figure from the tower was standing right outside my dorm room. The knocking didn't stop. I grabbed my phone. No signal, no power. When I looked again, the figure was gone. But the sound of the bell kept ringing, long after midnight. The next morning, every student looked at me differently. No one spoke to me. Even Eli wouldn't meet my eyes. On the blackboard, new words appeared. 7 days left. You're next. And that's when I realized. Rule number 5 wasn't just a warning. It was a deadline.